everybody? Welcome back to Lexington Capital Holdings. My name is Tom McAuley, your head of business development. If you're a business owner who is out there looking for financing for your business, I'm sure you ran into some roadblocks, whether you were denied by a bank or didn't necessarily get approved for the dollar amount that you were looking for. Why does this happen? Today, I'm going to be going over multiple different reasons why businesses do get declined for financing and where alternative financing, like we do here at Lexington Capital Holdings, can really help you grow your business. Many business owners out there assume that if they do get declined for financing from the traditional bank, they're out of options, but that's not necessarily true. So banks have very specific guidelines that if you don't check all of those boxes, they're likely going to decline. One of the major reasons for a decline from a traditional bank is credit. Whether it's the score itself or the length of credit history, if you do not meet that guideline, they're going to turn you away no matter how healthy the business is. Another major factor for a decline from a traditional bank is revenue and consistency. A lot of different factors really come into that. If you're not producing enough revenue, if you have gaps or fluctuations in revenue, whether there's a reason for it or if it's just seasonal, if you're something like a landscape or you do construction in a more northern state, those dips in revenue will really affect you when it comes to them trying to extend any form of capital, because at the end of the day, the banks are all trying to determine risk, and they see it as a more risky factor when there's certain months of the year where you simply aren't producing revenue, and that is another huge reason for declines from traditional banks, where alternative financing really comes into play for that. Is if you go and you apply for the financing at the right time, when you're in season and you are producing revenue, that's where you can really start to see amazing dollar amounts, terms, and rates at an incredible speed. A big one as well that does lead to a lot of declines that people don't necessarily expect or really think too much of in the beginning when at least starting a business is most financial options, especially from a traditional bank, require 2 years time in business, which leaves a whole market of businesses that unfortunately can't get access to these specific types of financial products, which is extremely unfortunate because realistically, at the end of the day, when you're starting up your business, those first 2 years are so crucial, and that's when you need the financing the most. And it becomes very difficult to find those sorts of options anywhere other than Lexington Capital Holdings. And the last big reason I would say is collateral requirements. Depending on the product, depending on the dollar amount that you're looking for, certain products and programs are going to have to require some sort of collateral, whether it be land, whether it be certain pieces of equipment, or it could be something even like a life insurance policy. Anything that you have that you can put up as collateral for the banks to feel more comfortable extending capital to you. If you don't have those kinds of requirements, it's going to be much harder to find the specific dollar amounts or product or program that you are looking for. There are plenty of growing and solid businesses out there that simply just don't check every single box of the traditional bank, which is where alternative financing really comes in and fills that gap. This is where alternative lending really changes the game. Rather than just taking on one or two specific requirements that will either lead to an approval or a decline, we take a much more rounded approach looking at the business as a whole. Now, while things like credit are going to come into play to a degree, they're not taken as heavily into consideration. It's more about the health of the business itself, the revenue, and how the business is operating at the time. As well as that, a huge factor that does come into alternative financing is, remember we were talking about the banks needing that 2 years time in business to see a lot of different options. With alternative financing, that's not necessarily the case. Not only can we work with startup companies, but we could also get financing for anybody in between that 2-year realm with term loan options, lines of credit options, a bunch of different financial products for the businesses that necessarily couldn't get that financing solely because of their time in business. And last but certainly not least, let's talk about speed. When it comes to getting financing from a traditional bank, we all know how it goes. It's going to take some time. Underwriting takes time. It's going to take anywhere from usually 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the program. Some can even be longer. When it comes to alternative financing, the real key factor of it is just how quickly it can be executed. From application to submission to getting an offer and closing and having the money in your bank account, that could all be done within a 6-hour span, same day if needed. And that really opens up a whole lot of doors of opportunity where if you come across, let's say, a piece of equipment that you have on sale that you need to get right away or it's going to be gone, that will help you out. If you just need a quick injection of capital for whatever the case may be, alternative financing is going to be the way to go for you. As well as that, It's very easy on paperwork. So there's not a ton of paperwork you have to run through, not a ton of documents you have to provide, and you don't have to go into a branch and waste your whole day when you could be operating your business as you should be. So if you've been denied by a bank, don't think that you're out of options. The bank products, they're amazing, but they don't necessarily work in every situation and for every single client. If you want to know what you qualify for, reach out to Lexington Capital Holdings. We'll go over everything, see what program works the best for you, and make sure we get you set up with the right financial program for your business. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss out on any insights or strategies for the business. And if you have any questions and comments at all, feel free to drop it in the bottom. Someone from the team will always get right back with you.